What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name's Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, for the past little while, we thought that it was Jim Harbaugh who was very adamant on returning to the head coach position for the Michigan Wolverines and was just waiting on that offer for the extension from Warde Manuel and the athletic department at the University of Michigan. But reports came out last week that said he actually has been offered that contract extension through 2026 and could have signed it as early as this past Monday, but obviously right now that is not the case. Now, from everything that I've seen, I would say that him re-signing with Michigan is probably the most likely option, but now with the NFL season, he can now start mulling his offers from different NFL head coaching positions. And I think right now he's just testing the water. So today we're going to be breaking down his top NFL suitors. First up, we have the Houston Texans, who have been very poorly run, at least over the course of the past several years, when we look at their former head coach in Bill O'Brien, and also their inability to address their issues on the offensive line. The Houston Texans have a very, very talented quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who's still only 25 years old. He got sacked the second most in the entire NFL last year, but still managed to lead the NFL in passing yards and also pass completions over 20 plus yards. A guy like Jim Harbaugh has experience, not only himself at the quarterback position, but has also worked with some very talented quarterbacks when we look at guys like Andrew Luck and Colin Kaepernick. This might be a very good suit for Jim Harbaugh. Next up, we have the LA Chargers. Now, the LA Chargers recently parted ways with their head coach, Anthony Lynn, but at the end of the day, they didn't really have that bad of a season last year and have a very talented young quarterback when we look at Justin Herbert, a lot of talent on the offense when we look at guys like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They have a very talented young defense as well, and I think when you're a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who's got his reputation a bit tainted in his last few years at Michigan, especially when we look at what he did in this previous season, I think the Chargers would be a great fit for him. You look at two aspects of the Chargers here. Number one, the Chargers are moving in a fantastic direction. They're a very young team on offense and on defense. And I think the second thing is when you look at all of these NFL teams that have head coach vacancies, the Chargers are probably the best team to give Jim Harbaugh a win now situation. So I think the Chargers could definitely be an option for Jim Harbaugh. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons are a very interesting team who hasn't really reached expectations in their previous seasons. Now, they've recently fired their head coach, Dan Quinn, and Matt Ryan's future really depends on who they choose as their next head coach. Matt Ryan is already 35 years old, and rightfully so, doesn't want to go through a rebuild at this point in his career. Bringing in Jim Harbaugh, you'd be bringing in a more offensive-minded coach, which at the end of the day, Matt Ryan really hasn't had over the course of his career. This could be a way to signal to Matt Ryan that they're not going through a rebuild, and also could be creating an interesting pitch and catch offense when you look at the talent that the Falcons have on that offense, particularly with Julio Jones. Next up, we have to mention it. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, who in the upcoming NFL draft will get the number one pick and will most likely be taking a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Now, as I was saying before, Jim Harbaugh has worked with some fantastic quarterbacks in the past when we look at guys like Colin Kaepernick and Andrew Luck. And to be honest, Jim Harbaugh would make a very, very good quarterbacks coach if he wasn't trying to go for a head coach position. And I think this could be a fantastic pairing with Trevor Lawrence, who's trying to make a good start into the NFL. At the end of the day, though, you're looking at a Jaguars team who needs a ton of help, not only on offense, but also on defense. And at the end of the day, they had the second worst rated defense in this past NFL season. So if Jim Harbaugh really does want to win now and recover his reputation, I wouldn't say that the Jaguars are the best spot, but they definitely are an option. Next up, we have the New York Jets, who have a very, very similar appeal to Jim Harbaugh as the Jacksonville Jaguars would. Now, as of now, the Jets are picking at number 2 in the NFL draft, but we don't know if they would be picking a quarterback at that position or potentially trading down and maybe even keeping Sam Darnold. But when we look at the Jets roster, they could definitely use a guy who could help them at the quarterback position. And again, Jim Harbaugh is that guy. But the Jets are very similar to the Jaguars when we look at them as not really being a team who can win right now, and definitely also need some more help on the defensive side of the football. Now, the Jets do have less issues to address, I would say, on defense, but definitely definitely this would be a very similar situation to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last but not least, we have the Detroit Lions, and in theory, this is a move that could make sense. You have a Detroit Lions team who hasn't really met expectations in the past few years, and you have a very talented quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who has one more year on his deal and is signed through 2022. Now, Jim Harbaugh would also be staying in his hometown, but I don't think people in Michigan would like this move very much, you know, going from the Wolverines to the Lions. And to be honest, I think Robert Saleh makes the most sense for them, the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. You look at what he brings, you know, to the 49ers defense, the defensive improvements that they've made over the course of the past few years, and I think that the Lions could really benefit from a guy like that. If you did make it to this point in the video, thank you. Let me know who you think is the best NFL suitor for Jim Harbaugh. I want to hear it down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.